Assalamu alaikum, family. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talk, and I am your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. And I'm so grateful to be here with you this morning on this July 4th Saturday. And I want you to be a friend and tell a friend. And we're going to come back right afterwards and talk about some things that just random things, not really random, but yeah, sort of random. Some things that are in my mind about the 4th of July, about the beautiful day we celebrated yesterday, and some things that are coming to me about doing for self and our sovereignty and how that's going to save us. And we got to move away from getting the bag. And the bag may mean attention. The bag may mean mainly attention. The bag may mean money. And we have to go for impact and sovereignty. So I want to talk about that a little bit today, too. So we'll be right back after a few short commercials and a beautiful prayer to give y'all time to get in the room and be a friend and tell a friend. See you on the other side.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. You're tuned into the Sajdah channel. I don't know about y'all, but do y'all see and feel that shift happening, or this shift that is currently happening in the universe? Are you paying attention to the weather? There were some interesting things, really, the month of June with the weather here in Chicago that I just kept saying, this is a shift. This means something. We were having these massive tornado storms, and trees were being uprooted from the root. I'm talking about trees with 8 to 10 foot root bases. I'm talking about the oldest trees on the block toppled over in the road. Not the baby tree, not the branch, the big root tree. And I said, oh, this is significant. And I started looking up, what that meant in different traditions and how other people had interpreted it, just to match up and see if what I was feeling and sensing was real. And it was talking about transformation. It was talking about uprooting old ways of thinking. It was a whole thing. I'll do something on it. Then this weekend, we've been having these storms that come with these lightning and thunder events, I call them, with no rain. Like the rain will come after, like literally it either will rain first, and then the lightning and thunder comes in powerfully, or the lightning and thunder comes in powerfully and then it rains. It's just, I'm talking about like vicious, violent thunderstorms and lightning storms dry. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but happy 4th of July. And I'm going to talk about why I'm saying happy 4th of July, because I know a lot of you are like, this ain't our 4th of July. In our separation from the white man's world, we have to understand that separation includes rising above all of what is happening and literally encompassing it and understanding it as a God. It's like being able to read the tea leaves, right? Being able to read what is happening. Your separation shouldn't be to the point where you're oblivious to the prophecies and the history, the 50,000-year history that we are all walking through and writing for the next generation to walk through. I mean to get so deep on y'all at the beginning, but this has been on my soul. This weekend, we had a beautiful, powerful celebration of life of our beloved mother and first lady, Mother Khadijah Farrakhan Muhammad. I wish I had a button to give some claps. But we started Friday. Well, I'm going to speak first person on this. I started Friday. No. I started the week before with feeling very emotional and unstable for a number of days and not being able to sleep. And then that Saturday morning, I decided that I'm going to get out and I'm going to walk. I'm going to go if I got to do 10 miles today, I'm getting this out of my system. And just the weeks leading up to that, I just didn't feel right. I felt very like bloated and slow. And I was just like, what is going on? And so that Saturday morning, while I was on what I planned on doing was a 10-mile walk, I got the phone call that mother had passed. And similar to when my father passed, I felt something. I've had I would say I've had two significant deaths in my life. When my grandmother passed, I felt like I was going to die. And I felt like, what am I going to do? What do I do? Just because mentally she just had been that anchor, my entire life. And so I just remember laying on my little couch in college after receiving the phone call. It was finals week. Um, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And I had all the lights off. I wasn't talking to anybody. And there was a friend of mine, I can't even think of her name, shame on me. She called me on the phone, one of the rare times that our phone was on. But I had this apartment by myself. And she called me and she said, "Where are you?" And I told her, I said, I'm in my apartment. My father's passed. My grandmother passed, and I don't know what to do, literally. And probably within an hour, she came in, knocked on the door. And at that time, we used to jog a lot around campus. And I had stopped jogging because I had a stalker who had started writing letters and said that they would see me. And she was like, "Let's go for a jog." And when we went for the jog, I remember her saying, "Girl, I got class." And when I got back, one of my friends, I can't remember, I don't know why I'm blanking on everybody's names, but he lived 2 doors down from me. And when we went on the jog and we jogged back, and she's like, "Girl, I gotta go to class." And I was like, "Thank you for getting me out of the house," because I literally was in the house. It was just all dark. And uh, he came and he said, "We cooking spaghetti. You got to come over for the spaghetti." And I remember my friends not really knowing, but they kind of helped bring me out of what was kind of threatening to be a really dark place. But when my father passed, it was a little different. Of course, obviously there's sadness there because you don't see that person or you don't see them, but he had this powerful conversation with me. Or the last conversation I had with him was a very powerful one. And he kept saying that he was not going to worry about me and Kevin. He said, "Because I know you and Kevin going to be all right. Because I know how we raised y'all." And he went into this whole rant about me and my brother. And I just remember thinking, wow. And that was our last conversation. And when my mother called to tell me that he had transitioned, immediately, because the other thing he kept saying to me was, "You're educated, you're beautiful, just keep being who you are." And I was like, "Yes, sir." He was like, "You're special, you this." He talked about when I was little and he said, "We discovered that you could read." He said, "Nobody teach you?" He said, "I used to," and he talked about his friend, Paul Baker, and how he told him, "Man, that little girl can't read," and how he bet him $5. And he said, "And you came up and started reading." And it just was something about the conversation. So when I learned that he had transitioned, what came over me was a transformation. And I knew that this was in 2008 or 9. I can't even, I think it's 2008. When he transitioned, there was a transformation that came over me. And I knew, like I'm talking to you today, that moment was like I had lifted to another place and started moving on another plane. And literally, from there, starting in about 2009, my career, everything that I was doing and working on just started skyrocketing. Because I was in a little bit of a dark place at that time, just trying to get everything off the ground. And to this day, when I reference, my memory reference of him in that conversation is very motivational. And with Mother Khadija, I felt the very same thing. So let me just tell you, and then I'm gonna tell you what I felt. So Friday we went. She lied in state at Mas Mariam, which was beautiful. She looked like somebody's angel. Her face in person, she looked like those pictures. She looked like a supermodel, like an older woman who was modeling some outfit or something. She was gorgeous. And she had on this gold and white. And the gold was like sparkly. And then they had like this cloud looking fabric that was coming out from up under her as she laid in the casket. And then the minister had written these amazing words about her name and signed it. That was on the back of the casket. It was white with gold. It was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I just stood there for a moment and just soaked in the beauty. Growing up as a baby Muslim, Mother Khadija was and is a shiro. And for me, during that time, I had two shiros in the nation. No, that's a lie. Two primary shiros. Mother Khadija Farrakhan and Mother Tainetta Muhammad, who I was actually closer to than Mother Khadija, but those are my two primary shiros. And then next to that, not lesser, but just in a different way, was Sister Captain Betsy Jean Farrakhan. Captain Betsy Jean had this presence and a way about her that when I started getting contracts, I remember I was trying to present for this contract with the Chicago Housing Authority. And I was so nervous, I couldn't figure out who to be. And I just pretended like I was BJ. And I did that for years. I was just like, I'm BJ, because she was so statuesque and so beautiful and would always look you straight in the eye. And there was a power about her, but then there was also a beauty. And her way about her was attainable. And then that other shiro is Sister Donna Farrakhan Muhammad. And Donna was just what I always loved about Sister Donna, and I still love about her today, is her groundedness and how earthly she was. And how I remember when she took us all to Sister Donna is secondarily responsible for myself and Sister Alita working so closely with the minister, primarily for Sister Alita. For me, Brother Wazir had already started the process, and I was working for Brother Kamal. And then Sister Donna scooped us up and took it. We had these lessons on how to eat, but her advice was always just sage. But Mother Khadija, I looked at as the entrepreneur, of my top tier shiros at the time. I emotionally love, but didn't have the ability to lay eyes on her and be around her, Winnie Mandela. And I'm talking about outside of, because I got some shiros in my family, but I'm just talking about in the nation right now. Outside of my mother and grandmother, those were the shiros for the spiritual journey that I was going on at that time. My family had laid the foundation, a really good one, but then I needed people to lay eyes on as I was navigating this new territory. And those sisters were the ones that I was able to lay those eyes on. And Mother Khadija was always an entrepreneur with New Elle Apparel and her apartment buildings. And she would talk to us about, it's interesting because my conversations with Mother Khadija have almost always primarily been about business or something to do in that realm. And I remember her talking to me about business and money and talking to me about how people will steal from you and protecting your money. I just remember those conversations. But the last conversation I had with her, other than just seeing her and, assalamu alaikum, mother, love you, thank you, but just a literal, we actually talked on the phone for about 20 minutes. And I'll say part of it. I won't say the whole thing, but she had seen me on television. And I had on this burgundy suit and a burgundy tam. And people don't know, but Mother Khadija was a seer. And she could read people. And I guess she read me when she saw me on the news at that podium. I won't even talk about what it was for. I will just say that it was around the time when we were fighting the ordinance for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. Because I don't want that to overshadow the story, but it's a part of it. And she saw me and she asked the minister to call me. And it was about 8:00 at night. And I see this call, and normally I don't answer calls if I don't know the number, but some said, pick up that call. And I picked it up, and the minister gave me the greetings, and he talked maybe a few seconds, and he told me that Mother Khadija wanted to speak to me. He said my wife. And she got on the phone, and she started telling me how beautiful I looked and how proud of me she was. And she said, when you walked up to the podium, this is the biggest compliment. She said, they showed some highlights. You know how they show the pre-roll of what they're going to play when they come back from commercial. And she said, when I saw the pre-roll, you were walking up to the podium. And she said, I told Jean, I said, that's an MGT right there. She said, we didn't even see your face. She said, I knew it. And she said, she talked about how proud of me she was. And she talked about how beautiful I looked. And she told me how did she, I won't try to remember the words because I do have them written down. But basically, she talked about being steadfast and staying focused. And she kept saying, just so beautiful, just so beautiful. And there were some other things discussed that I won't share. But then the minister was in the background and he said, you are loved in this house. Do you hear me? You are loved in this house. And she got on him for interrupting her conversation. And then he said, my daughter is here. And I heard BJ say, that's right. And Mother just went on. And I'm so grateful for that to be my last conversation with her. I would see her and just, greet her and stuff. But that conversation was so powerful. So when the relief of her transition was announced, and I say the relief because there was something I was feeling mentally and emotionally and physically leading up to it that just wasn't settling right in my body. There was something with the stomach. and I couldn't really eat. So I don't know what that was, but it lifted as soon as I learned that she had transitioned. And then same thing, just like my father, that elevation. It's like I was a boat and there was water underneath me, and I'm rolling with this rolling water underneath me, and I'm riding the wave. And the minute that I heard that, just like with my father, the thing lifted. You know how when you go to on those boat tours of Lake Michigan and they show you how they reverse the river? It was like that. It was like it lifted and then I took off. And I said, oh, whoa, this mother has lifted us. And then yesterday we were blessed to I was blessed to attend her janaza services. I say we because everybody there was blessed. I'm speaking in first person right now. And then another interesting pivotal moment. So when I first decided, I don't know why I'm telling this story, but Allah just said this because I was going to talk about the 4th of July. I'm gonna still do that. But when I first decided while I was working at the National Center that I was going to start my business, look at how Allah works. My very first client was Reverend Dr. Lewis Rawls. Y'all know who Dr. Lewis Rawls is? Dr. Lewis Rawls lived on the property next door to Sajdah House. There was where the palace is. There was another house there, and he and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were friends. And that's the pastor that the messenger passed the $50,000 over the gate for, bought his property, tore down the property, and built the palace. I did not know that story at the time. Reverend Rawls hired me because he has a senior home next to the church, and they kept failing these audits. And somebody at CHA had referred me to him. And when I went to CHA, they said, go see Reverend Rawls at United Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, Went to go see Reverend Rawls, and he, I think it was his assistant, explained that they needed audit prep work. So before the CHA or HUD comes in to do the audit, they need a prep. They needed I already knew how to do it. I said, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the audit, and we're just gonna go through and make sure that we do a pre-audit and get all the work done before they come back out again, so they don't lose their certification. And Reverend Rawls and I got into a little bit of an entanglement because he said, CHA done referred you. You don't even have an office. I said, I got an office. It was real cantankerous like that. And then that was the first little debate that we got into. And so I went back to the mosque, to the National Center, and Brother Lewis Jr. came into the office. And I told Lewis that I needed an office, that this man was tripping, and I don't know what I'm going to do because I can't say my office is at the mosque, and my little apartment can't be my office. And at that time, he and his wife, Sister Lisa, then wife, had an office in the Pioneer Building, which was the building the messenger built on, I think it's 83rd and Cottage Grove, in their travel agency called Windows to the World. And so I ran into Lisa because if you know Lewis just be talking, right? And I ran into Lisa and I told her, and before I even finished the sentence, Lisa said, girl, we got an extra room on the side. Just come work over there. So they gave me my first office. And Reverend Rawls and I, man, we tussled because he didn't want to pay me. He started saying that he kept saying, well, I should be your pastor and I should be your reverend. I said, I got a pastor and a reverend. His name is Pastor Reverend Minister Farrakhan. We was going at it, boy. And as it turned out later, I ended up working on a preservation project to save his church. Interesting. I had no idea that he knew the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I didn't know the story. I obviously didn't know that I was going to own Sajdah House. Allah is funny because he does stuff. So Sister Liesl gave me my first office. And yesterday, no, maybe it was Thursday, she called me and she said, I want you to go to the repast with me. And I said, of course, I'd be honored. So when I got to the repast, it was so crowded. They was like, there's no more seats. I had a wristband, I think from Brother Saad, but I don't know if that was for the MUI repast or the Salam repast. But Liesl has said, girl, come over here. This is all this era replaying, right? So when I came over there, Liesl's like, nope, I got you. Here go a seat. You good? And I end up in a seat next to where the minister ended up being there when he came with Stevie Wonder and started sharing some of the musical and poetic tributes. So, but the era coming together, because that was, I call that kind of that Mother Khadijah era of my life. But I felt the elevation. I felt the elevation. So I did that. That was yesterday. And it stormed like crazy. Cats and dogs. They at one point when we were about to leave the mosque, they were like, no, you got to stay. You got to stay here. So it was beautiful, very interesting. And there's so much more I could say about it. But all of that around the 4th of July. And today at 10 a.m. on NOI.org, or if you're going to the mosque, I think it's still raining. It's raining over here. But there's going to be a flag ceremony and a prayer. But here's what's also interesting. And this is what I really want to say today. What I'm learning about this era that we are going into is that we have to be authentic and work on our personal sovereignty. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the tool to work on our personal sovereignty. He said, get up and do something for yourself. Because as long as you are depending on someone else, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that. As long as you are doing that, as long as you are emotionally attached to something, hear me out, you're still a slave. If you are one of those caught up saying, well, the church should do this, the mosque need to be doing that, the government should be doing this, the job should be doing that, and they should be doing da-da-da-da-da, you still a slave. But guess what? If you're around here saying, I can't stand that church because they know they should be blah, blah, blah. I can't stand the city because they should be doing such and such. I can't stand the mosque because they should be doing such and such. You're still a slave. So just because you step back in the name of you can't stand something, you don't vote, you don't participate, you don't do whatever, it don't stop you from being a slave. And it don't stop you from being impacted by the sorcerers and all the negative stuff that's out there about that institution and that organization. So the minister talked about how they've written so many things about him, almost cursing him and putting a veil on him, and how Mother in her passing lifted the veil off of him, because nobody could be with a man for 72 years if he wasn't a good person. Nobody. We all have our anchor in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because of what a good person he is. And so those of you who don't like the minister, or you've heard certain things, or you got a jealous mindset, or you all about whatever you about, you don't understand that. How we can anchor in him because we've been taught something about energy. And so now today, if we are not doing for self, if we are not focused on our personal sovereignty, what does that mean? It means that if things fall apart, if things look different, if things crumble, if you don't like the mayor today or the mosque tomorrow or the church the next day, you still got your personal sovereignty and who you are and your belief system and your certainty in a God that has never forsaken you. Get up and do something for yourself. See, you can't truly say you know how God will work with you and how Allah will intervene in your affairs until you rely on him. Those stories that I just told you, and that's just a few, have to do with my reliance on Allah and anchoring myself in the example of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And his wife, Mother Khadija, just showed the world, among many other things, who and what he truly is. So why do I say that on this 4th of July? Because this 4th of July is the 250th year of the Constitution. I think it's 250 years from 1776. And so a lot of us say, well, you know what? This ain't our country, da 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 da. Yes, it is. Everything about America, the capitalism that is the greatness of America, hear me out, was built on our backs. It hinged upon who we are. It hinged upon us being brought over here as slaves. It hinged upon us already being here in some cases and becoming part of that system. But the entire system was built on our backs and hinged upon us. We saved America during the industrial, we built America during slavery. We saved America during the Industrial Revolution because they was hurting. After the Civil War, they was struggling. After those 2 world wars, they were struggling. But then somebody came up with the Industrial Revolution. Let's bring these Negroes up from the South and exchange from them, give them in exchange of their time an hourly wage and let them come and work in these factories. And we saved America again, time after time after time. So don't you say this is not our country. The fall of America that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about is indicative of the rise of those of us who understand the time and what must be done. Okay, so if you are a person of a certain age and you came through the government, for example, of the Nation of Islam, it's your time to rise. You should not be around here talking about no petty nothing, because you should be all about, here's my idea. This is how I'm going to be part of the resurrection process. Here's my economic development. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm doing. You should be knocking down the doors to work with people like myself and other people who are willing and dedicated our lives to help you get to that next level. So the fall of America, the fall of the dollar, is tied to the rise of Black people, because as we no longer are slaves and as we begin to unravel ourselves from this level of dependency, we have to think about what is our responsibility and what are we going to do next. So when I talk about your personal sovereignty on this 250-year anniversary of the Constitution that we weren't a part of, 3/5 of a person, they wasn't thinking about us, but they knew they was about to build a world empire based on me and you. When I say personal sovereignty, what I mean is We believe in everything else. Some of us are staunch believers in God. We believe in Jehovah. We believe in Master Farah Muhammad. We believe in everything, but we don't believe in ourselves. And we don't believe that we literally are their clones. A lot of us believe in Jesus, but we don't believe in ourselves. It's time out for that, because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have faith in your sovereignty and who you are, and if you're not willing to say, I'm going to use myself to get our community to that next level, you're going to always be a slave to sex, a slave to dollars, a slave for impact, for attention. It's all about impact. What impact are you making on the community and those around you by being your authentic self? If you're not a person of impact, you really have no place other than the place of a slave in this new world and this new era that we're going into. Why do I say that again? Because technically, you got sorcerers out here, people who just run their mouth and manipulate people by things that they say. You got movies out here controlling people's subconscious mind, telling you what to think, telling you what to do. You got clothing designers saying, dress like this. This is what's in fashion. This is what's in style. You got people in your small little environment telling you, don't do this, do that. If you and I don't get up and do something for ourselves, we are going to remain a slave. And being a part of that first wave of people that are going to step up and do something for themselves and make an impact is not easy. People are going to talk about you. There may be problems. You may be kicked out of some places because people sometimes may not understand what you're doing, but it's your job to keep your heart right and to make sure that your faith and your love for Allah is bigger than everything. And guess what? Anchor in the example of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and how he loves the messenger of Allah, or he gonna go the way of his father. That you could take to the bank. So if you sitting up trying to predict, well, what's the minister's next move and what the minister gonna do, you shouldn't even be asking that question. If you're a believer, look at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Oh, he's gonna go that way. And every trial and every test attached to that direction, we gotta pass. Let's build this village. Let's get up and do something for ourselves. This, I believe, is why it is so significant that Master Farah Muhammad came today, July 4th, 1930, to Black Bottom, Detroit. He raised the first begotten of the dead, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He came on July 4th, 1930. And then now here we are today, the 250th anniversary on July 4th of the Declaration of Independence. What does all of that mean? And what does it mean today when we got a government that is struggling to figure out, do we save the economy or do we save the dollar? This is the first time where that has been a huge problem. Do we save the economy or do we save the dollar? Before they would say, okay, we're going to save the dollar. We'll come up with these petrodollars. We got enough tools in our tool belt to remove the gold standard. We got this. But now we don't. And the real asset, listen to me. The real asset is you and I. Let me tell you what a valuable asset we are economically and our culture. You have the Asian culture that began to study us so that they could come over here and do business. I think it all kind of happened all at once because they're going into our neighborhood, so they had to know. They be saying stuff like, oh, you want rhinestones, you like a bling bling. Because they're copying our slang, copying our vernacular. They were doing whole studies on how to deal with us. In our minds, what do we say? How do we move? How do we dance? How do we laugh? How do we roll? And then their whole society became this thing of mimicking us. And then guess what they did? They made a multi-billion-dollar industry all hinged on who you and I are. They little R&B groups ain't nothing but New Edition and the Temptations and Boys to Men, if you will. Their dancing is our dancing, whether it's Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Chris Brown, whatever. The swag, the vibe is all our culture that they have taken and monetized. That means they just scratched the surface of who you and I are and went and made multi-billions of dollars, entire industries. They just scratched the surface of who you and I are. So it's time for us to get with the God within, that piece of us. Because see, we all clone, we all made in the image and likeness of God. We're all a slice of that pie. But who are you and I? And how does that tie into the prophecy that we are walking through right now? And the only way we're going to be able to tap the essence of that is we got to get up and do something for ourselves. We got to begin to build up and develop our own sovereignty. We got all the tools and all the signs. So let's go. Let's go, family. All right. So that's all I got to say. A couple quick things. We are having our event on July 12th. And it is a musical tribute to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, 75 years of Mahalia Jackson at Carnegie Hall. Right now, you just got to go online because we partnered. Heritage Nights is a partnership with DCASE and the Coalition of Black House Museums. And that part of it is actually free and it's already sold out. So if you want to look at it from around the world, you're going to have to get an online ticket. But that's out there. And I'll talk more about that this week. I actually didn't, when I was going to start the promotions, then our beloved mother made her transition. And I don't want to be promoting on top of us getting the word out there about mother. And, now we're ready. I'll just say it that way. Okay. If you want to become a sponsor, you want to sponsor the event. If you want to sponsor the house, you can do that. We got a lot of great things planned for you. A lot of stuff, good stuff we're working on. And I'm going to explain to you guys the new business model of historic preservation that I have developed. I'll break it down at one point, but it is separate and apart from the edifices, so the houses and the building and the land, so that it continues to morph and become a part of our everyday life, so that we can begin to study and catch the vibration of what happened in history. And my thing is, what other better way to catch the vibration of the divinity of a man than by using Mahalia Jackson? So that's coming up. That is coming up soon. Let's see what else is happening. Make sure you hit that super chat button or give some stars. Support the movement. We've got some other things. We just had our second cohort graduation for the Work Ready, Wealth Ready fellowship program. Shout out to all the graduates. Shout out to the instructors, and shout out to my sister Aletha for creating the program. I'm just on as a developer because she's done a fabulous job. Y'all should see the platform. It's amazing. It's called Club Blue Wealth. We'll talk more about that. We're going to be doing something called Builders Day later this summer, which again ties into what I was saying at the beginning of this conversation. Getting up, doing for self. getting your mind out of the concept of becoming of being a slave and living like a slave, and beginning to learn to practice these principles that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has given to us, and the example led to us by our beloved Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his beloved wife. There's look, we dealing with all industries. We got our brother Imam Tariq, Dr. Imam Tariq El Amin, who is spearheading a new genre of music called Muslim soul. So we're excited to be able to help him do that. But using art to tell the story of our beloved Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and our beloved Honorable Elijah Muhammad, specifically from his home, and as curator and founder of his home, is going to be very interesting, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Okay, we got some museum-ish type of stuff. Y'all know the last event we had was very cerebral. And we got some of that kind of stuff coming up, but we're also going to add the accelerant of art to it, and you're going to see how that goes. Let me shout y'all out in the chat before we get out of here. Oh, y'all know I've been meditating since I was 4 years old. I've always been an empath. I didn't know how to control my sensitivity. It was very hard for me growing up. And I learned, I feel like Allah whispered in my ear was to just meditate. And so I had this concept where I would just go and sit with God. I didn't know the word meditate at the time. And I just would feel the urge like I needed to sit with him. And I would just go and sit, get stung by bees or get, whatever. I just would have to sit. And I just would do it whenever I needed to do it. So sometimes, I remember one time a teacher, my brother repeats this all the time, saying that I was mean, but I was going through something spiritually and I needed to sit with God, and I didn't know how to wait. Like, okay, wait till you go home, or Islam gave me prayer times and all kind of other things to learn, but I didn't know none of that growing up. But it has helped me save my life. It's helped me see things. I've gotten pictures of things that was about to happen. I've been in positions where I was about to do something, and Allah's like, come sit with me, sit down. And so we now are doing that right here on the channel every Monday morning at 6 a.m. So tune in to the Sajdah Monday morning meditation. Look, these are all tools to keep us from being slaves. Because if somebody's sitting next to you plotting, if they done went somewhere and they practicing voodoo, hoodoo, sorcery, trying to manipulate you and all this other stuff that they doing, see, when you learn to sit with God, he will give you the message on what your next move need to be, and you ain't gonna give a damn what they got to say, no matter how much influence they may have over you. These are independence tools over here on this channel. Brother Lamont, wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you, thank you. He said, good morning and happy Saturday. I see Rashad Shabazz, 1903, says, wonderful history. Thank you so much, sir. Hip Hop Liberation says, salam, Queen Sajdah. Salam, salam, Hip Hop Liberation. Brother Jamil Muhammad. Y'all know Jamil got a one-man play coming up. Let me tell y'all about Jamil. I know Jamil forever and ever, too. He really, really has always been, and I don't mean this in a bad way, Brother Jamil, but he just been a good preacher and a good conveyor of the word and a good conduit of the history of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He really is like a walking encyclopedia, and he's hilarious. And he has a new show with, you know what, Brother Jamil? Let's do, I don't know when the show is. Let me get the dates. I'm going to call you later, because we need to do a special show where we talk about your show and figure out, I don't know, maybe we could bring it to Sajdah House after you do your big New York thing. After you go up on Broadway, you could come over here to the Chitlin circuit and do it with us. So shout out to Brother Jamil. He said, I bear witness you were right there where, Brother Jamil, yesterday or back in the day, because I was right there in both places. Personal sovereignty, that's exactly right. Reginald Muhammad says facts. Let's see who else we got. Shifting Army gave us a sad face. I don't know why. Hip Hop Liberation says can't wait. What you can't wait for? Hip hop Liberation. Sorry, my little scrolling ain't doing good. Okay, who else we got here? Yeah, Builders, let's go. That's exactly right. Oh, you're talking about Builders Day. Yeah, inshallah, Builders Day will be good. And the goal for us that are all working on this is to really help everybody to work on becoming builders, because we got to raise a generation of builders. Okay, and it's going to take a tribe of us to do it. We got to rebuild these wasted cities. We got to become part of government. This is the reason why I wrote about that in my latest book, The Art and Science of Business. We talking about self-governance. I do advising for politicians and people who want to help do things. There's small little things that you can do as a politician or as an administrator that will help support the sovereignty of our community. And this is what we have to work on. Don't you tell me that we can't do it. Don't you tell me that we're not valuable. Some of y'all might get thrown overboard. I get it. Some of y'all might not be down. You say, look, I'm all about the ratchetness and I just want to, juke and twerk. Okay, that's cool. But there's a lot of us who are ready to be builders, who are equipped to be builders, that have building in our DNA. And I say that because I grew up under the mantra that my mother said, she don't raise no followers. We got whoopings in our house if you was around there lying, trying to do something just because somebody else did it. That's making leaders. And so we're going to talk about that. So Monday morning, motivation. Let's go. Only time I've ever been in trouble in my life is when I stopped meditating. That's real talk. Okay. So we're going to meditate Monday morning at 6 a.m. Happy 4th of July. Happy coming of Master Father Muhammad, 9,000 miles by himself to raise us up. Said he would climb a mountain just to save one of us and eat rattlesnakes and all of that. I don't even want to go that deep today. Just know that you are beloved, and it is your beloved DNA, your beloved sovereignty that is going to save us. So much so, these people done copied off of you and I, even in our low state. And not that money is the litmus test, but it's damn sure a sign. They done made billions of dollars off of the impact of what they just copied from us. I told you I was in Korea at a Korean dance festival, and they came out in Department of Corrections jumpsuits. All the black people, we looking at each other like, do they realize that this is not cool? They had on orange Department of Correction jumpsuits and was crip walking and dancing. Probably about 100 of them. That's real talk. All right. So make sure you tune in July 12th for Mahalia Jackson. And make sure that you tune in Monday morning. If you don't have your commemorative Elijah coin, go and get it. That's why you probably didn't get a seat, because if you don't have your coin, they didn't get offered to you first. And the coin holders was like, bloom, bloom, bloom. We got this. We love these benefits. But it's okay. You can go online and we'll go from there. But like I said, we got some good stuff coming up, and I'm out here working. So if you're trying to build your business, you're trying to work on something, send me an email, mindofanentrepreneur@gmail.com. I will send you a link, and you can go and book, pay your fee. You get one free. You can either get 1 2-hour session for $350, or you can get 1 hour session and get another one free. We're going to work on bringing Brother Jamil's play to the Chitlin circuit over here, since he's going to Brooklyn, I think. And but we got a few other things I'm not going to say anything about. I don't announce anymore because it's like as soon as I announce something, then here go to sabotage. So you got to be in the circle to find out. All right, family. Tune in to NOI.org at 10 a.m. today. Okay. And you can watch the prayer. We're going to have a prayer and the presentation of the flag. All right. May Allah bless each and every one of you with more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. And remember, it's not personal, it's vibrational.